Alright, welcome back. Another installment of the record collection overview. Moving on from R to T because I don't have any S. We're going into the Talking Heads now, one of my newer favorite bands actually, just got into them. Got an original press of their first album, 77 here. Really good first album for a band, to be completely honest. It's hit and miss for first albums, in my opinion. They're not always great, but sometimes they're the band's best album, you know, for at least a couple decades. I love the photo on the back cover here of the band, really wholesome looking. And their sound at the time was fairly wholesome as well. A little bit zany and chaotic, but at the same time, very clean and almost safe to listen to. There wasn't very much to scare you there, or confuse you for that matter. Their second album here, more songs about buildings and food. Again, an original press here that I got. Lucky to have that. I'm very happy I found it. Sounds great, it plays great. Fantastic album, in my opinion. A step up in terms of technicality from their first album, but still not their best, in my opinion. I don't want to call it better than their first album. I think how good their first album is almost overshadows the improvements that they've taken to their technicality and their sound on this one. But I do enjoy more songs about buildings and food. The cover here is actually a bunch of Polaroid photos put together to make a life-size recreation of one photo that they took. So that's kind of trippy to think about. And the back photo here is a photo of the United States, which has been manipulated color-wise to show the geographic differences more accurately. And there's some explanation to that on the sleeve. It's just really weird and cool. I thought that was interesting. Next from the Talking Heads, I've got Fear of Music. This here is a reissue, but it's a nice reissue, a nice pressing. I really like the kind of textured, I don't know what to call it, the metal paneling, that they use on the, like, foot holds on trucks and stuff like that. You got the lyrics on one side of the inner sleeve, and then on the other side you have a rather trippy photo of a human-like thing. Don't know what's going on there exactly, although I feel like it relates to the sound of the album. Great music there on that album, Fear of Music. Next up from Talking Heads, we've got the reissue of Remain in Light. Really great album as well. Really tight technical sound in the percussion section and rhythm section in this album. They really kind of have that going for them all around, but with that album in particular, it's a really, like their live band was, I think, like 8 or 9 members. It was a very tight sound. Moving on from there, there's a bit more looseness and fluidity to the sound of this album, but they still have a very tight rhythm and percussion going on. Speaking in tongues, I think easily the most listenable Talking Heads album. Front to back, great songs. You don't feel like it drops off at any point. It just keeps on turning and turning and turning. After that, we've got an original pressing of True Stories. Great album by the Talking Heads as well, I have to admit. Not my favorite, but it has grown on me. I like it better than Little Creatures, and I believe that might have come before this. Either way, I don't have it on vinyl. I do have a cassette. Not my favorite album by the Talking Heads by any means. There's a couple good tunes, but I prefer this one to that, but still not my favorite. Although I do really enjoy the design of the vinyl, I enjoy the band photo here almost more than I do the portrait from their first album. I just like the kind of expressions they got on their face, the pose David's holding. Then on the back here we got a photo of a stage that I guess David Byrne set up, which looks pretty cool. Reminds me of Pink Floyd. And then some info. After True Stories, we have their final album, Naked, which I really enjoy. Very kind of like African drum-orientated sound. It's a gatefold, but it's not like it's not a thick gatefold, you know, it's just it just opens. You got the lyrics here, kind of making like a volume or a sound kind of look, like a sound wave. And then there's a photo of the band here, and it's funny, David Byrne's got long hair at this point. They're all looking a little bit older, and he's holding like a glass box, or a plexiglass box, which looks like it's holding like a cow's tongue, or like an ox's tongue, or something like that. And he's going like, you know, like, he just looks like he's having a good time. I like the photo. It's a good Talking Heads album. I know a lot of people don't like it because the sound changed too much for their liking, but I enjoy it quite thoroughly. Next up we have the Tragically Hip here, Road Apples. Great album, features a lot of songs that I really enjoy by them. Twist My Arm, Cordelia, The Luxury, Long Time Running, one of my favorite songs. Three Pistols, Fiddler's Green. Fantastic album, not much needs to be said about that. Day for Night by Tragically Hip, another really good album, kind of like a lesser known, lesser talked about album. Some really good tracks on this one too, Grace 2, Daredevil, Fire in the Hole, So Hard Done By, Nautical Disaster, Inevitability of Death. All these songs are really, really good Tragically Hip songs. After them we have Ween, Chocolate and Cheese. Really good album, really good underboob. Yeah, it's kind of an eclectic, mixed bag here with this album. Lots of different sounds on it. Ween's 12 Golden Country Greats. I really enjoyed this album because well, for many reasons. The musicianship is fantastic, the vocal performances are charismatic, it really sounds like authentic, genuine country music, not like the dribble kind of pop country that you hear now. But it's also kind of humorous and, you know, not to be taken too seriously. Yet there is a hint or an air of seriousness to it as well. It's kind of complex. Really good tracks as well. But that's one of the things I enjoy about it. There's only 10 tracks, and the album's called, 12 Golden Country Greats. It's kind of humorous, like I said. My only critique with the packaging is that they use the same image here, there, on the sleeves, and on the labels of the record, which is a little bit aggravating because I have to see it no matter, how I'm holding this thing. And we got White Pepper next by Ween. Really good album, cool artwork. It looks like just like a white pepper that's like sweating, and it looks like the sweat or tears maybe have like pupils. Good track list, good album. Next up here we have an album by a local band. They're called Yes We Mystic, and this album is called Forgiver. And I really like the artwork on it, really cool. It's just like, it looks like two people in tender embrace on a dirty mattress in a junkyard. Might be easier to see without the sleeve on there. Got the track list on the back. Really cool sound from this band. It's like very synthesizer orientated, very rhythmic, very... not like a fast-paced rhythm always, though. It's like just very tight rhythm, I suppose. Good sound to them. Guitar, vocals are fantastic. I love the inner photo here on the gatefold as well. And for like a local band to have a nicely put together gatefold vinyl like this, it's a nice thing, And it's 180 grams as well. It's it's not super, it's not flimsy, Like. It's well made. It's nice. And, you can see that it's, like, funded by Canada as well, like our government. So it's interesting to see, how we have programs set in place to, like, help musicians with grants and stuff like that. It's really cool, I think. And next up, we're moving into my classical and jazz. So I'll just quickly rifle through this. I got this Beethoven Symphony from Value Village. It's in relatively good shape. I think it's come undone, like the sleeve. But otherwise, you know, like, it's not dinged up too bad. It plays well, a little fuzzy from age and dust and scratches, but it's not horrible. It sounds good. Next we have, what was this here? Tchaikovsky, Romeo and Juliet. It's basically the story of Romeo and Juliet told through music without lyrics. Very emotional, very emotive music on that one. Again, found at Value Village. Very cool though. Now this here is one of my newer favorites as well. I'm just getting into jazz a bit. Tony Scott, Music for Voodoo Meditation. Just the cover of this caught my attention. It looked like serious and interesting. And Tony Scott's like a jazz clarinetist, apparently. And he went around traveling and making albums reflecting the kind of music that he heard in the places that he traveled to. And I don't know where it was that he went to get the sound for this one. It would take me too long to read it here, but either way, Music for Voodoo Meditation is essentially all like clarinet music, just clarinet with like a very light kind of percussion that kind of just like pushes it along. Very cool. This jazz record here is called The Gifted Ones, and you can see there the names which are involved. Really cool photo here, you know, like just sitting there with that bent trumpet playing it. Like, these are just old jazz masters and they're just having a good time, sweating their butts off playing. And yeah, just good jazz record, more upbeat, not so dark. After that we have Straight Ahead, Eddie Lockjaw Davis. This is really good too. Saxophone player, backed by a band. Or the Tommy Flanagan Trio, as it says. This is good as well, a little bit more upbeat and lighthearted, but still complicated and emotive. Then we got this here too, the New York Rock Ensemble, Roll Over. This is cool. I love the artwork. It's still wrapped, but it's open on the side, you know, like I slid it open so I could play it. But I just love the artwork here. It's like all these little pepper-looking devil heads. And you can see like their shadows. And then there's a big one, and you can see its shadow, and it's like there's, you know, it looks like it's going to eat one of the little heads. And this is a really cool album as well. It's like rock. It's like classical music kind of structuring an ensemble, but like with the sound of rock and roll music from the 70s. It's a really cool sound. You know, got a portrait of the group on the back. Just the way that it's put together is a little bit more mature, and I don't know, mature is the best word for it, I guess, but it's different. It's different. It's not your average band. But anyway, that's it for my 12-inch LPs. I'll quickly just rifle through my 45s here with you as well, just to get it out of the way so we don't have to do a separate video. Going through my Bowie from latest to, or most recent to earlier. We have the single for The Stars Are Out Tonight. The B-side for that was Where Are We Now? And that one's really cool. It's got a white vinyl, so that was cool. I got the, pardon me, my face is itching here. I got the Day In, Day Out 45 as well. This one was good as well. The B-side was Julie, which was apparently not available on the LP. Not my favorite album from David Bowie. I have it, but just to have it. Don't really enjoy it too much. Peter Frampton did a lot of the guitar work on it though, which was pretty cool. But I just basically got this because it had the unreleased track on it there, Julie. And it's not even that fantastic, so whatever. We've got what was it? It's like a remixed version of Loving the Alien here. And I like this 45 because it's a gatefold 45. You got the back cover here. He's holding some sort of spear with fire on it, and there's some ominous clouds and some watcher, you know, holding him. Same kind of artwork from the cover of Tonight. Open it up, you get like a weird looking beaten down cityscape with Bowie walking down this path and a flower and some words. I think it's the lyrics to the song. That's a good 45. I enjoy it. We've got the Blue Jean and Dancing with the Boys single. This one's good as well. I like Blue Jean, that's a good tune. This one here is the Fashion single. I believe it's got Fashion on it, yes, and Scream Like a Baby. Scary Monsters is a really good Bowie album. Different from the other 80s stuff from him. I've got a Prince 45 here of a song that he had done for the Batman soundtrack, and another tune called 200 Balloons, which I'm not sure if it was on that soundtrack or not, but either way, it's a Prince tune that I hadn't heard before. Not a huge fan of either of those songs, but you know, it's Prince. Got Love Her Madly by The Doors. Hate that that's there, but you know, whatever. And on the other side, again, I got this mainly because there's a cover by The Doors on the second side, and it's a Willie Dixon cover. And that's pretty cool. It sounds awesome. I got Seasons in the Sun by Terry Jacks because Nirvana did a cover of it and made me aware that it existed, and I enjoy the song. I've got a single by The Who, not The Who, The Guess Who, sorry. Side 1 is called Till We Kissed, second side is called Shakin' All Over, and apparently this was given as a promotional thing to radio stations in Canada, and they would play it and get the audience to guess who the band was, and at the time the band didn't have a name, so that's how they got their band name. Guess Who came from that. I got this one here. It's just like I don't even know what to call it. Look at that label. Nothing fancy. But All the Young Dudes by Mott the Hoople, well, by David Bowie, but written for Mott the Hoople. This one here is kind of interesting. It's actually me pressed on a 45, like my music pressed on a 45 by a local company that does it. It's like paper thin though. Like you don't, it's not gonna focus on it, but like cool color. Cool how it's handwritten and everything. But like yeah, this would not be very difficult to break at all. Very thin. It sounds pretty poor quality, to be completely honest, but it's just neat to have your own music pressed on vinyl and to be able to listen to it. This is a single, a split single. It's got two bands, Mars Accelerator and Suplex. It was like a 90s thing. I don't know really where they went or anywhere. I don't know anything about them other than having this. Really cool coloring on it though. Cool sound, really alternative. Kind of sounds like the Smashing Pumpkins a bit. Then this is a quadruple split single. 2 songs on each side. I'm not even going to read the names off because they're so obscure and they're not very relevant, but clear vinyl. Cool label on it. This one here is it's called Sister Double Happiness, and I thought the album artwork looked trippy. The back looked like kind of like 90s, or like it reminds me of Pink Floyd, obscured by clouds and visions. And this one here is also colored, so I'll just show you that real quick, and then we're almost done here, folks. This is one of the coolest colored vinyls I have, actually. It's from Sub Pop Records, surprisingly enough. They're kind of like this has a southern kind of like rock twang to it, like a rockabilly southern rock. And it's like this marbled, like emerald green or like jade. I don't know what to call it. It's like turquoise jade. Very cool. Nice bright yellow label on it. Cool sound, not something I could really get into heavily though. And then this here as well, something I couldn't get into heavily or really enjoy thoroughly, but interesting nonetheless. Folk Song by Tony and Dennis, clear orange vinyl. Don't know what to say about this. Maybe I'll listen to it after this because I haven't listened to it more than like twice. But anyway, that's the entire record collection. That's it. That's all. I'll be doing updates as I get more stuff. And I'll be doing reviews soon enough, I'm sure. If you guys have any recommendations for reviews or any recommendations for records to check out, please feel free. Comment on the videos, send me a message, post on the group. Do whatever you gotta do. Take care.